keep hearing that video games are too woke now, which is interesting because I don't think most of you know what that word even means. There is a war going on in the gaming space, where one side uses woke as a blanket term to mean a liberal agenda, and the other side uses woke and by extension DEI as a slur, one meant to diminish anything that attempts to incorporate diversity. The true irony is that both sides are not only using the term incorrectly, they are also going against exactly what woke was supposed to fight: Black erasure. I hate to break this to you, but even if woke did mean forced diversity or liberal ideology, the games that you praise from the good old days were still woke. From challenging authority to deep metaphors about corruption and indigenous theft, video games have always had a deeper message. You just weren't paying attention. Today, I'm gonna break down what that word actually means, define what you're actually trying to say, and let you know that even by your own logic, you're still wrong. The phrase "stay woke" did not come from social media or white liberals, but from AAVE. Now, AAVE was mocked and made fun of, only to then be appropriated by white people to stand out or sound cool. Most notably terms like slay, period, cap, gagged, cis. These terms were founded by Black and Black queer people who are also made fun of and excluded by the broader gay community to this day. Both sides are guilty of prejudice. The practice of using Black culture while erasing the Black people who created it is not new. Did you know that the popular term mumbo jumbo, meant to symbolize gibberish or nonsense, actually stems from African goddess Mama Jumbo? A matriarchal culture that Oxford's dictionary once defined mumbo jumbo as name of a grotesque idol said to have been worshipped by some tribes. In its figurative sense, mumbo jumbo is an object of a meaningless ritual. Colonizers not only took a sacred religious practice and made it a mockery, they cut down and took their baobab trees, the plant that stored invaluable water, fiber, and medicinal properties for their people. Black erasure runs deep. Elvis Presley, one of the most prominent and popular musicians in the world, gained his fame not just off of his sole talent, but off of the backs of Black art. The song Hound Dog was originally recorded and performed by Big Mama Thornton. Not only did Elvis use the song, he mimicked her dances and repeatedly used Black artists' moves and flair, going on to make millions. While she received a one-time payout, he made exuberant royalties. Where Black people weren't recognized for their talents, Elvis was catapulted into superstardom. Now, this isn't to say that Elvis wasn't appreciative of the culture. In an interview with Jet magazine, Elvis stated, quote, "Nobody can sing that kind of music like colored people. Let's face it, I can't sing it the way they do." But make no mistake, the broader audience didn't care about Black art until it had a white face on it. This isn't his fault, but it does expose the systemic oppression of Black culture. Originating in the 1930s, woke means to stay aware of racial injustices, because the cost of being asleep was deadly. Not only were we subjected to Jim Crow laws, we were also being wrongfully slaughtered and jailed at the hands of the police. The term was revived in 2008 in a song by Erykah Badu, repeating the line, "I stay woke." After the killing of Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin, two families that had to bury their children before they were 2 decades old, the term woke rose in popularity again. Because even 80 years after the term was first founded, Black people still weren't safe. The perpetrators of these children were not given jail time for their crimes. To be woke is to be aware. It's to protect yourself and your fellow man. Black people founded it. And it's almost poetic how it was taken from us and given a different meaning. Woke does not mean LGBT, strong women, or even diversity. But how did we get here? The word was taken twice. First, white liberals adopted it as a term for progressive politics. An empowering term for Black people was now a vibe, a badge, the shiny new toy to be used, the same way that Black music was. Stripped of its meaning, woke was turned into a blanket word to symbolize diversity in many other issues, most notably the gay and feminist movement. Then conservative commentators turned it into a punchline. Now it's a slur, a catch-all meaning for anything that isn't white heteronormative. Woke has now been used to define something as poor quality, too safe, or forced diversity. Neither group created that word, yet both groups diluted the meaning of it. And that dilution matters. If you were online sometime between 2012 and 2016, then you remember the hot era of the time period, SJW. Social justice warriors are a group of people who passionately prompted socially progressive, liberal views about feminism and identity politics. What started from probably good intentions for diversity and acceptance was weaponized, and anyone who disagreed with an SJW was deemed as evil or bigoted. This movement was inevitably picked apart by right-wing conservatives, and the two groups could be seen duking it out online. These SJWs were poised as too sensitive and often called virtue signalers or professional victims. A popular nickname was coined for them: snowflakes.
We don't listen to people that look like you anymore. You've lost all the power.
Is it a woman thing?
No, SJW thing.
So you're sexist.
I said SJW. Is that women?
Well, I mean, you like to
Justice
talk
warrior?
over women all the time.
You're literally gonna marry a person.
You can't say that.
Yes, I can. Go. So,
Being a social justice warrior was no longer an emboldening term. It had been clowned to the point of oblivion. The word became stale, and that's when woke replaced it. The meaning didn't change. The branding of it did. When people say woke, what they usually mean is liberal, progressive, or something stripped of its raunchiness in order to appeal to a broader audience. And that's not what the word means. If you're using a term rooted in Black survival language as a shorthand for "I don't like this," you're not making a cultural critique. You're repeating a buzzword. And anytime that I hear someone use woke in this way, it lets me know that you're either being malicious or you have no idea what you're talking about. Now that we've established what woke actually means, let's apply this to a real-world example. Popular creator Satch on Sims made a video using the term woke the way many online commentators do, as a synonym for cringe, censorship, and oversensitivity. If you clicked this video and you don't know what The Sims is, thank you, first of all, because that means you aren't in my main audience. But a brief history on The Sims for those of you who don't know. It's a sandbox life simulator game where you create your own characters and manage their daily lives. You build friendships, form families, and pursue a career traditionally. But a lot of chaotic things can and do happen. Ovens can catch on fire, your Sims can starve to death, you can get abducted by aliens. The outcome of the game is completely up to you. It allows you to follow your Sims' dreams or turn their lives into hell. A god simulator, if you will. The most recent installment is The Sims 4, and while the game is under many controversies within the community, the premise for this video specifically is that Sims 1 and 2 weren't as safe, and therefore better. In Sims 1, you could dance on a stripper pole. There was a vibrating bed. In Sims 2, they put raunchy humor in the trailer. The wife Sim was ripping her top off and exposing herself. The Sims 4 is a lot more tame, and Satch voices his frustrations over this. However, he uses the term woke to mean that the game, and by extension the general community, is too safe, watered down, or trying too hard to appeal to a broader audience, essentially calling wokeness a bad thing. So let's point out all of the times that Satch uses it incorrectly.
Inclusivity that The Sims 4 actually has. Many companies these days in general, I think, are terrible for like blackwashing or rainbow washing their content in order to make it woke and diverse. Hate comments do come in the form of woke criticism and woke education, because hate is not just "I hate you." Hate and toxicity can also come in the form of being nice, coming across as nice but actually being very toxic. In terms of the Sims community, I do definitely think it's these woke attacks that come in the form of education and holding people accountable, which is what drives a lot of the unnecessary wokeness in the Sims community in the Sims 4 game too. The Sims is not the only video game to be destroyed by wokeness in the recent years.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
In these clips, what he actually means to say is liberal or progressive. And while even those terms wouldn't be the perfect categorization of what he's trying to say, it's much better than using black terminology. The distinction is what matters, because when you detach a word from its origin and reassign it to mean I don't like this, it starts to carry undertones whether you intend it to or not. Impact does not require malicious intent. To give the benefit of the doubt, because that is what black people have to do to maintain their sanity, Satch is from the UK. There's room for the fact that he has no knowledge of American history or the culture surrounding it. But finding out what woke actually means only takes a 10-second Google search. And when you position yourself as an influencer, you hold a responsibility to the words you say. If you're going to use something in a defamatory way, it helps when you know what you're talking about. But let's use his wording, okay? So The Sims 4 is bad because it's too woke, and The Sims 2 is the model for how games should be, right? Released in 2004, in The Sims 2, same-sex couples could exist openly. They could adopt children. Interracial families could exist. Women could choose to dominate careers. You could have children outside of wedlock. Male Sims could wear skirts or makeup without consequence. All of these things at the time were considered taboo or socially unacceptable. No matter how you choose to present yourself in The Sims, you're treated the same way and you don't receive punishment. The Sims 2 simply allowed people to exist. Every Sims installment is this way. So the question is, why isn't Sims 2 considered woke? Because inclusion that benefits you feels neutral. When a system validates your identity, it feels normal. When that same system expands to validate someone else, suddenly it's political. Inclusion does not make a bad game. A bad game makes a bad game. Does this make Satch a bad person? No. I mean, to be clear, I wouldn't be friends with him or anyone who thinks like him, but disliking someone doesn't make them evil. I don't think he was trying to be malicious. Not towards black people, anyway. In fact, he makes a great distinction within the same video.
Many people have referred to this as a forced attempt at being diverse. For that, I will disagree. Just because a video game protagonist isn't a straight white man, that doesn't make it woke.
Only to follow it up with using the word wrong again.
But what I do think make the reboot unnecessarily woke is the attempts to be cool and Gen Z.
Out your fucking mouth!
He is simply a symptom of a larger general issue, echoing rhetoric that has been heavily amplified in conservative commentary spaces. The funny thing is, Satch, as a gay man, goes on to say that being gay is normal, and that's the justification for it belonging in The Sims.
And when diverse concepts are forced upon you, it's only because it's a natural and normal part of daily life. For example, being gay or bisexual are totally normal things that could happen to any person from any country, no matter what your culture is, no matter what your laws are. Sexuality is not culturally specific, and as a result, sexuality is not something that can be toggled on and off in The Sims 4 and is just considered a normal part of daily gameplay.
That's interesting because I remember a time when being queer was not normal. In fact, the consequence of being gay took your life. Modern LGBT liberation did not emerge from nowhere. The black and brown people that you steal and remix language from are the ones responsible for the rights that you have today. You walked through the doors that they bled to open for you and then slammed it in their faces. One of the most cited figures from the 1969 Stonewall Uprising is Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman. She served the gay and trans community in meaningful ways, started organizations for the homeless during a time where lawmakers and civilians alike were against her. Marsha stuck her neck out for the rights and safety of the LGBT community. Queer liberation movements were shaped by black and brown activists, by trans women, by people who were marginalized even within marginalized communities. And yet, anti-blackness persists in queer spaces.
A lot of people's idea of queerness is very white-centered. Queer media in and of itself is already a niche, but black queer media is a niche within a niche, which is insane because a lot of, if not almost all of the rights that queer people have is the result of black queer people fighting on the front lines. Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman, was a prominent figure of the Stonewall uprisings. She fought for homeless queer people suffering from HIV, and of course the equal rights of her queer siblings all across America. As long as gay people don't have their rights all across America, there is no reason for celebration. But ironically enough, she was overlooked by a lot of the mainstream LGBTQ organizations and even had disagreements with them because these groups centered white cis gay men. And of course, she wasn't the only one that experienced this. There are a lot of black lesbian activists that face racial discrimination because of white-centered feminism.
I'm moving away from such at this point, to be clear. In fact, this video isn't directly about him at all. It's about black elimination and how it not only dominates the climate of conservative spaces, it does within liberal ones too. You see, despite being very much anti-black, there is a facet of the queer community who lean into black culture when it suits them. I'm not white, clearly, so I do not witness the overt racism that is given by your friends, family members, and coworkers because they feel comfortable. I would imagine that many white people do though. And if they reject their thought processes and don't wish to identify it, they lean into black culture as a form of rebellion. This happens all the time, from lifting phrases from AAVE, using our aesthetics, our mannerisms. It's a signal to others to say, I'm not like them. But many people like this do not engage with black people in any meaningful way. In fact, a lot of white people who do this don't actually want anything to do with blackness as a whole. White, queer, liberal spaces adopted the word woke without acknowledging its black origins. They took it without asking. And when you look at it that way, they, along with the conservatives, are two sides of the same coin. You consume the aesthetics of us without protecting us as a people. And when black people call it out, we're called angry or too political or divisive. This is a pattern. Video games have always asked players to question systems, authority, corruption, societal norms. The Sims allowed alternative family structures in 2004 without permission or apology. It didn't scream about it or brand itself as revolutionary. It just existed that way. And that's what makes the games are too woke now argument so hollow. There are far more examples of this than just The Sims. Games were always woke. You just didn't feel personally disrupted by it before. As a black woman creating content anywhere, but especially in the cultural climate of the gaming space, I'm hyper aware that my tone matters. I do not get the luxury of saying anything that I want and still being deemed as reasonable. At the same time, however, just because I carry myself a certain way doesn't grant me immunity from racism. There's no safe enough way to exist that will protect me. But I am so beyond sick of people using the word woke as a buzzword or a slur and completely ignoring and eliminating the origins of the word. You don't have to agree with every progressive shift in the media. Every game doesn't have to include diversity even. This goes without saying because games always have and continue to be white-centered. But words mean things, and if you're going to critique something, you should at least use the right vocabulary. Because woke does not mean I'm annoyed or I don't like this. It means awareness of social, racial injustice. And if that word is a defamatory statement in your eyes or makes you uncomfortable, I think it's time to question that discomfort. Black people, it's high time that we take our word back. I'm going to leave some great black creators down in the description, most notably Never Not June. Thank you so much for leaving me this really sweet comment. You're awesome. Subscribe to my Patreon if you would like more content from me. I post exclusive videos and posts. Say it with me, kids. Black history is American history. Happy Black History Month.